kindly agreed to come and talk to us on 2 topics. Not only on maintaining but on Agile as well. And Emma's been working with the Agile company, and in fact Emma has presented on the PMI event. I remember it was a couple of years ago. It was very, very impressive. So I'm really looking forward to hear what Emma's got to say.
Can everyone hear me? Can you hear me now? Now? How about now? That's very loud. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for that introduction. I'm really looking forward to speaking with you tonight about just pop that over there. So, as with any project, I was engaged by my sponsor. Keep away from that. Actually, I'll take this off. Thank you. Thank you. So, let me start that again. Thank you, everyone. So, I was engaged to do this speaking gig tonight, and like any project, I was given a scope to talk about the 3 things that I've learned from mentoring. And like any typical project, my scope increased, but my time frame remained the same. So we're going to do this Agile style. I've got 30 minutes, and I want to make sure I deliver the most value to you in this time. That's better, isn't it?
Oh,
yes. Got it. So, is everyone happy to not just hear about Agile, but do some Agile?
Yes.
Yep. Anyone who doesn't want to do that? Okay, good. Excellent. Okay, so I've got a couple of key things that I'd like to talk about tonight, because when Anne asked me to speak about this, I thought about what are some of the things I've learned from my mentoring experience as a mentor and also as a mentee. And I thought, oh, and I've also got to talk about Agile, so how do I do that? So I had a bit of reflection on it and realised that there's so many similarities between what I've learned in mentoring and what I've learned in my Agile journey. I thought, why don't I combine them in some clever way that's really interesting and interactive? Or why don't I just combine them in a way that you're going to get some value? And so that's what I'm planning to do tonight. Let's go to the next slide. For those of you who remember my presentation in PMI, I talked about the hero's journey, and for those of you who've heard me bang on about this, I'm really passionate about this because we're all on a journey in our project management lives, in our Agile journeys, in anything that we embark on. And the hero's journey, if anyone's seen any blockbuster like The Matrix, Lord of the Rings, The Wizard of Oz, you'll know, what's that? And Harry Potter, of course. So the hero's journey, and I won't go into the whole thing tonight because I know that some of you have heard this already. The hero's journey starts with the hero being in the very seemingly ordinary world, in the cubicle, in the very dull world, knowing that there's something else out there for them. And by the end of the journey, the hero has gone through all these trials and tribulations and has achieved amazing things. And we are all heroes of our own journey. One of my most favourite parts about the hero's journey is when the hero, you, meets their mentor. So The Matrix, the hero meets Morpheus. The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy meets the Good Witch of the North. Now, I love these movies because the mentor is always someone amazing, and you go, wow, that's such a cool mentor. And it's that point right before the hero crosses the threshold and goes into this brand new world and achieves amazing things. Now, it's a fantastic metaphor, and one of the things that I think is really important for us as mentors, mentees, as project managers on our journeys to amazing successes and riches is that our mentors come in very different shapes and sizes. And your mentor could be your PMI mentor, could be a magazine article you read, it could be a website that you find. Your mentor is everywhere. So you're unlikely to meet Morpheus and ask if you want to have the red pill. But there's so many opportunities to learn things from all the mentors around you. So when we think about our journeys, just before we cross the threshold, there's always going to be someone there for you, something there for you to help you on your journey. And I trust that as PMI mentees and mentors, you're getting a lot of benefits from the mentors that you're meeting all the way around. Does that make sense? So I won't talk about the hero's journey too much more, but if you're interested, there's a great book by Joseph Campbell called The Hero with 1,000 Faces, and it's an amazing book that talks about this journey in more detail. Okay, now, next slide please. So, When I thought about what I've learned from mentoring and my journey as an Agile project manager and Agile coach, I thought there were probably a number of themes. So I'm going to bring those themes up now, just I think one by one revealed slowly for excitement. And they are, know your outcome, conflict is okay, ask, musts come first, and change is okay. Now, these are the 5 themes I wanted to talk to you about tonight. Now, in Agile, we always make sure that we do what is going to give you the most value first. So, I've actually already decided what to do first, and that's know your outcome. But there's 4 more topics, and I'm really keen to understand from you what are the ones you want to hear about first, because I've got a certain amount of time to talk to you tonight, and I want to make sure you get the most value in that time, and I don't take up any more time and ruin your opportunity here from the amazing recruiter. Okay, so like any good Agile coach, I have my product backlog ready to go. And I'm going to put this up on the board and I'm going to ask you to vote. Is everyone up for this? Yeah. Okay, cool. Right, who's involved in Agile project right now? Just curious. Few of you? Okay, so how's your product backlog going? Good? Okay. Okay, so the product backlog tonight has 5 main items. And our goal tonight is to get through all of them, or at least the ones that are going to give you the most value. So I'm going to start with know your outcome. There's a couple of reasons for that, because most of what I talk about links to that. But I'm really keen to hear, what do you want to hear about next? So I'm going to go through each one of them, and I'll get you to put up your hand. You get 2 votes each for what you want to vote for. And I'll count up the votes, and we'll prioritise the product backlog, or we'll room the product backlog for those of you who are really Agile people. And I'll make sure I order my presentation so you get the most value. Okay, so number 1 is know your outcome. We're doing that first. Okay, who votes for change is okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 people for change is okay. Good. Okay, who votes for conflict is okay? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's a lot of people. All right, 40. Okay. Who votes for ask? You don't really know what that is, do you? It's a bit hard to vote, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 23. Who votes for musts come first? 23. Oh! Okay, this is challenging. Okay. All right, so we now have a rough order for our product backlog. We're going to do know your outcome first. Obviously, there's a lot of people that want to hear about conflict, so let's do that next. Okay. All right, so let's do a mini vote here for ask, and must come first. Ask again. Okay, and must come first. 27. Okay, so we're going to start with know your outcome, then we're going to talk about conflict, then we're going to talk about our must coming first, then we're going to talk about ask, and if we have time, we'll talk about change is okay. Is everyone happy with our product backlog? Okay, so we've just groomed our product backlog. And the most important thing about grooming the product backlog is the whole team is involved. It's not just me deciding, well, I'm going to talk to you about this, it's everyone. So this is your presentation, so I want to make sure you get the absolute most value out of it. Okay, all right, so next slide, please. Which is know your outcome. So one of the things that made me realise that this should come first is in an Agile project, one of the first things you talk about with your sponsor, with your product owner and with your team is what's our outcome? What is our vision? What is our enduring purpose for doing this project? And it often ends up as not just, well, we want to put in a new system and do these cool things. As the Agile coach, I'm always asking, well, what will that give you? What else will that give you? And the idea here is to ensure that you have an enduring vision, so no matter what happens in the project, in the organisation, in the economy, you understand where you're aiming for. So when things change on the ground, as they normally do, we're all driving towards that one purpose. Really important in an Agile project to understand that. And so when we think about that outcome, everyone knowing it, everyone believing it is really important. And when I reflect on mentoring, it's just the same. When we think about any mentoring relationship, any journey we start, we must know the purpose behind it. And I'll even go so far as to say, because one of my mentors has told me this and I absolutely believe it, even before you read a book, what is your purpose for reading it? So we think about any change or any journey you want to embark on, what is your outcome? And it's really helpful in a mentoring relationship when you meet with your mentor for the first time, when you meet with Morpheus and he's like, right, what is it, red or blue pill? What is your purpose? What do you want to get from this mentoring relationship? And when you understand what your outcome is, you're more likely to get it. And when you understand what your enduring outcome is, your absolute, really most important purpose, you're more likely to stick to it when you have your tests and trials along the way in your journey. So the reason why I wanted to talk about this first is because it reflects in all my learnings the importance of having that outcome. So no matter what conflict you come across, no matter what change you come across, no matter how much you're forced to change your priorities, you understand your enduring outcome. And as Alice in Wonderland once said to the Cheshire Cat, what road do I take? Well, where are you going? I don't know. Then it doesn't matter. If you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. So just a couple of tips on keys to an achievable outcome. I'm a coach. I coach clients in my own business. And one of the things I always take my clients through are these keys. Firstly, whatever you've decided you want, you must state it in the positive. We're really good at saying what we don't want. So state it in the positive. Also, once you know where you're going, also understand where you are right now. So what's your current situation? So, I want to be president of PMI. Well, what's your current situation now? Well, I'm not a PMI member. Okay, so then you've got your gap. So knowing where you are right now is really, really important. And it's also very important to be specific. Don't just say, I want to be rich, or I want to have more money, because if I give you $1, you have more money. You've achieved your outcome. So be really, really specific. And this is where I encourage you to be as specific as you absolutely can. And it's no harm in being as specific as you can, like a dollar number, a certain role, a certain environment, all those things are really important. The next thing is make sure you have evidence. So when you're really specific, you'll also know what sort of evidence is there to prove that you've actually made it. And this is where you can have some fun, because I really believe that the more specific you can be and the bigger you can make your vision and your purpose, the more likely you are to achieve it. So really be sure about the evidence. And also know what else it'll allow you to do. So when you're president of PMI, just thought of that just now, it's good stuff. What else will that allow you to do? It might allow you to travel and go on these really cool junkets to overseas. It might allow you to speak in front of groups of people. What else is it going to give you? Because if you can understand what else it can give you, you're more likely to go after it, even when things are tough. Also know what resources that you will need. So who's going to help you along the way? So who's your team? So do you need extra support from your partner to do this? Like if you're going to take on a new role, if you're going to be... Has that 15 minutes? Oh, wow. Okay, cool. All right. Thank you, timekeeper. So who's on your team? And also, for what purpose do you want it? So why do you want it? The other one was who will win and who will lose. So you're going to win, other people will win, but is there anyone that might lose from this? So it's really important to understand that as well. So there are keys to achievable outcome. Right. Is there any time for questions at the end? All right, know your outcome's done. Okay, if you want to flick to conflict, I don't think it's the next one. Oh, it is. Oh, wow, that's a pretty good guess. Okay. So when I reflected on the things that I've learned from mentoring, and again, what I've learned from being an Agile coach and an Agile project manager, one thing that stands out for me is how important conflict is. So conflict isn't just okay, conflict is necessary. And when I say conflict, I mean healthy conflict. So don't be afraid to challenge, like even with your mentor, don't be afraid to challenge them and ask them questions and be really clear if you're not sure. So if your mentor gives you some advice, be okay to question it. Be okay to, your mentor isn't always right. And remember, you can learn so much from your mentor, and your mentor can learn so much from you. So it's really, really important. And in an Agile team, conflict is so important. When we think about even grooming our backlog here, it's okay to challenge some of these things. Why are we doing this? Why don't we do this earlier? What are our priorities? It's okay to have that conflict. In fact, I think it's absolutely necessary in a project. If we're all nodding our heads going, yeah, that's a good thing to do, we're not challenging. We end up with groupthink. So conflict is really important. And when we think of conflict, obviously the most ideal conflict is the collaborating type. So we want to have a high concern for others, and we want to be still quite assertive but not aggressive. So wherever possible, collaborating is the way to go. We do tend to go into avoidance mode occasionally, especially when we're challenged with something. And we can be a little bit accommodating at times, or we can be competitive. But when we're thinking about conflict, we want to be aiming for that collaboration. And as an Agile coach, I think the more healthy conflict we have, the more likely we are to meet our outcome. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm going a little bit faster now because my timekeeper's just given me a bit of a hurry up. Okay, the next one that we've voted for is our must come first. So is that the next one, or no, one next? Yes. Okay. So Anthony Robbins once said, if you can't, you must, and if you must, you can. So it would have been a couple of months ago, probably in February, I got a text from my dentist, and it was like, hello, just a reminder that your checkup is due. And I thought, oh, yes, I must get around to doing that. Put it on my little to-do list, make an appointment with dentist for checkup. I had a bit of a sore tooth and thought, probably should do that. So I kind of prioritised it in a, I really should do this. Anyway, last week my tooth broke while I was eating a nut. And suddenly my dentist appointment went from being something I should do to something, holy, I've got to do this. Called the dentist, they were very understanding, they fitted me in straight away. So that priority went from being something that was important to something that was really urgent. So when we think about that in terms of in an Agile project, we always do our musts. So we always do our product backlog into the things we must do first, and then the things that we should do, and then maybe some of the things that we could do if we have time. And the idea is to get the most benefit first. And when we think about that with our relationships, with our mentoring relationships, with our friends, with our families, we always do our musts. We always do the things that are really important. And when you think about the people in your life, there's the people that are really important to spend time with. They're the people that are really good to hang out with, and then there's the other people, if you get round to them, that's okay. And when we think about our mentoring relationships, just ask yourself, is mentoring a must for you? Because if it is, it'll be something that you do. If it's not, you won't get round to it, and that's okay too. It's just about knowing what are the important things that you put first in your life, the things that are going to give you the most benefit, and what are the things that might not be as important right now, but they may become important later, because we can always groom our backlog. And an Agile project, obviously we haven't done it tonight because this is a 20-minute Agile project. Normally they go for a little longer than that. During an Agile project, we may well have a conversation and say, well, you know, we thought this was important, but now actually we'd like to do this first. So, and it's all about creating that healthy conflict and creating that conversation that means that we're able to change our priorities earlier. So always remember that you always do your must. So what you're doing right now, whether it's right or wrong, whether you're happy or you're not happy, you've made it a must for a reason. So that's your must come first. Okay, so we've achieved a bit of a minimal viable product in the fact that we've done 3 of our stories out of 5. We've got about 8 minutes left, so I'm going to put it to you again, the team. Are there questions that you had, or would you like me to do the other 2 stories? Questions? Stories? Okay, all right, okay. Well, let's keep going with the product backlog then. Okay, all right. So the next one is called Ask. So I think you need to go back one for this one. Yes. All right. I love this quote. Get out of your head and get into your greatness. Now, what I mean by this kind of funny sounding story, which I'm sure you put low because you were like, oh, no, is that? Let's put it low. Okay, it's about getting out of your head. And one of the things I've learned from my mentoring relationships, being a mentee and being a mentor, is when you open up that conversation, when you start talking, you suddenly get out of your head and you get into your heart. Because we're really good at catastrophizing events. Has anyone ever sat stewing late at night going, I don't know how this is all going to happen, and you're in your head completely, come on, it's not just me, oh please, yeah, thank you. There's a few of you, yeah. It's so easy to create a catastrophe inside your head. In fact, Mark Twain once said, I have lived through many catastrophes in my life, most of which didn't happen. we tend to rehearse catastrophe and when we're in our heads. So the real benefit and the real learning I've had from my mentoring relationships is I get out of my head and I have the ability to talk to someone and say, right, this is what's going on for me. And once I'm out of my head, suddenly it doesn't seem so bad. So getting out of your head and opening up the opportunities to learn new things and be able to hear yourself talk, so important. So if you're not talking about things that you need to with your mentor, make sure that you do. If you're not bringing things up with your mentee, if there's stuff happening in your head, get out of your head. And when it comes to Agile projects, one of our things, which we've demonstrated tonight, thank you all for being part of this, is if you're not sure about something, take it to the team. Who has been sitting at their desk late at night, writing up a project schedule, going, I can't believe how we're going to be able to do this on our own? Yep. Yeah. So in an Agile project, you don't do that. You take it to the team. You go, okay, team, right, we've got a problem. We've got 5 minutes left, and we've got this story left to go. What are we going to do? So it's all about taking it to the team. And I think that's really empowering as a project manager because I'm like, wow, I don't have to, it's not just all up to me. I've got this whole amazing team supporting me that's actually going to help me through this. So take it to the team, get out of your head and take things to the team. The most amazing thing about every Agile project I've worked in has always been amazingly talented people on the team that know tons more than me. So I'm not expected to be the expert. So get out of your head, take it to the team and ask. Okay, we have our final story. Change is okay. Where's that? Yes. The only thing that constantly life in your life is change. I love it. Because I think we've all experienced that. Okay, so when you think about that in terms of an Agile project, a longer one than 20 minutes, you're changing your scope potentially quite a lot. Who thinks they might have changed scope way too much in an Agile project? Was it too much for them at times? Yeah. So when it comes to change, the most important thing about changing your product backlog, changing your mind or anything else is that you're staying clear to your enduring vision. So going back to what I said at the start, when we have a purpose, when we know why we're doing something, it doesn't matter what changes in the middle, as long as you're still going towards that purpose. So that's when change is okay. So change is okay, it's so linked to knowing your outcome because in an Agile project, we just don't change scope for the fun of it. We change it because we want to stay aligned to our purpose and we want to get the most benefit for the time that we spend. So change is okay. And when we think about that in the context of a mentoring relationship, you think about the sort of mentors that you've come across in your life, the sort of people that you've met. How much have they opened up your world of possibilities? Tons, right? So when you're out of your head and you're talking with your mentor, they are giving you ideas that you never would have thought possible. So a really cool law, which I think I've spoken about with PMI before, is the law of requisite variety. It's actually the first rule of cybernetics. So it's a systems thing, it's not even a human behaviour thing. And it states that the part in the system with the most flexibility is the strongest. So you think about us in our relationships, us in our projects. If you can remain the most flexible part of that system, you will be the strongest. So, and I know that goes against what we might think about standing firm. This is what I think, but being able to be flexible and open to change and being able to flex with what happens actually makes you very strong. So what's more strong, the oak tree that just falls over in a storm or the willow that bends? So the most flexible part of the system is the strongest. So the more open you are to change, the more open you are to the possibilities, the more likely you are to control the system. Just thinking on the 5-minute mark. So I want to just do an exercise with you now, an exercise that I've done with my mentor. Is everyone just nod their heads right now? Yeah. How does that feel? So honestly, by nodding your head, you're saying yes to other things coming in. So when we think about some of the rigid ideas we have about stuff and the things that we want to do, if we can remain open and flexible to change, we're more likely to open up a world of possibilities. So when I relate that to either my mentoring relationships or my Agile projects, I think, wow, so the more open I am to change, the more likely I am to succeed and the more likely I am to achieve my outcome. And that's change is okay. Do you have my slide? What is next? That is right. What is next? Okay, so my challenge for you tonight is to think about one of these stories, just the one, because we don't want to get too excited, just one of these stories in our product backlog for tonight, and think about if you just took that one concept and took it out into your life, into your relationships, into your job, into your Agile project. What one little thing could you change that could make the most difference? Has anyone got an idea about the story they might choose to take away? Is anything standing out for anyone? Behaviour flexibility. Yeah. And that's something we can all work on, because sometimes we forget to be flexible and we forget to be open to change and we miss out on opportunities. Anyone else got one? Behavioural flexibility? Any takers on? Yep. Ask. Brilliant. So my challenge for you is to pick one and think about how you could apply it to make the most difference, to get the best outcome for you. And that's my presentation. Does anyone have any questions? Yes, at the back. Graham.
Yep. The only thing I've seen tonight that strikes me as at all different to the way I've run projects is your board there with the stories on it. Mm-hmm. All the other things I've been doing for years.
That's amazing. Oh, and that really ties in well with what Shakeen said, wasn't it? And it's I'm glad you brought that up, because I think some people see Agile projects, especially, so hands up those who are working on Agile projects at the moment. There's a couple of you, but there aren't many. A lot of people look at Agile projects and go, oh, wow, I really want some experience in an Agile project. Oh, it'd be so good to do Agile. Not realising that you're probably doing a lot of this stuff already. A lot of the principles, a lot of the basic tools, all that stuff we're already doing. Product backlog's a handy thing. It's a good thing to have on a wall, because if someone walks past your project team area at any time, they know what you're working on, and they can question and say, hang on, why is that so low? Why isn't that higher? And it's really good for visibility. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. It's really true. There was another question. Yeah.
Just on defining outcomes, I find that's just getting a clear and articulate definition is a real challenge. Is there anything you can follow tips in that space?
Yeah, it involves being a little bit annoying actually. As an Agile coach, one of the things I'll always ask is, for what purpose are we doing this? So you'll have a sponsor, will have a great idea, I really want to transform payments, I really want to have a new trading system, or I want to do this. It's always good to ask for what purpose, and it's a real challenge for a project manager, because sometimes you can be seen to be wasting time rather than just getting on with it, but it's so important. And often when you're asking someone what their purpose is, they don't really know it, so they're saying what they think that they know, and then when you question them a little bit more on it, it puts them in a state of discomfort. So it's really pushing past that discomfort and into a place of understanding. And yeah, it's not easy, but the question of for what purpose, I believe we get trained out of asking why as children, because as children we're always asking why, and our parents are like, shut up. Not the parents in the room, of course, all very good, I'm sure, but I know definitely my parents. Yeah, explains so much. We get trained out of asking why, and so it's about retraining yourself into asking why again, and being okay to ask why, even if you're going to draw some irritated looks, and really push past that. Does that help at all?
Yeah, I think sometimes with smoke in the room is the problem. People just have got no real concept of what the issue is and what they're...
And sometimes when you chunk up a bit high, it can be a bit too blue sky, so sometimes you have to chunk people down a little bit and say, okay, so what do you mean by that? What would be the components of that, and how would you go about doing that? So it's about stretching people's range of thought. Some people are stuck up here in the trees and other people are down here in the detail. So our role as amazing Agile project managers is to navigate that whole spectrum really well. Not me personally. I mean, I've explored some lean concepts in terms, but not in great detail exactly. What did you mean? Like, what were you after?
There's a subset of those four disciplines that borrow from the Agile concept of tedious.
Oh, okay. I'd be curious to learn more about that. No, not in that level of detail. But I would be keen to know more. Oh, that's a really good question. There's a lot of different theories on that. The Agile concept about estimation is that you always spend a lot of time estimating your first stories, to do a lot of vague estimation for your last stories, then kick off and start doing stuff and estimate in more detail as you go. The waterfall theory is that you'll spend a long period of design and then have an estimate that you're probably more confident about for the whole project. which of course we know isn't always true. So yeah, that's the general basic difference between that. I was talking to somebody before about common belief that if it's an agile project, it's got to be time and materials because anything can change. I don't necessarily believe in that. I believe that you could potentially look out and have a more fixed price as well. Lots of different theories on that. My timekeeper's giving me the...
One more question.
We've got time for one more question. Oh, it better be an amazing one.
What I've heard so much about in Agile is really relating to software development, and apologies to all the people who work in software development here, but for those of us who work in non-traditional projects, can you recommend any resources for how to implement Agile?
Oh, there's tons of resources. So one of my mentors actually is a man by the name of Rob Thompson, who's written quite a lot online. There's a lot of free articles available on what he calls Agile project management, which is all about applying Agile principles to project management. So he's a good start. But another thing to Google that's really good is adaptive project management. There's a lot of theories on applying Agile to that. So it's not just about software. So it's about applying the principles of collaboration and working together, visible boards, all to projects. In fact, an amazing place I went to last year was Lonely Planet. They've redesigned everything that they do, not just the software, but their legal department has a board and they have stand-ups every day, and they all the Agile principles for all the different areas, which is amazing. Yeah, good question.
Can I just add a little bit to that? Just to add to that, Agile is used in lots of different industries. So if you actually look, there's just like this Agile software websites. There's sites in manufacturing, in publishing. Pretty much most of the industries you'll find Agile websites, which are the whole hub of Agile in that particular industry. So you will find that.
Yeah, some teams I've coached have got their own Kanban walls as well, and they're not IT software development. In fact, some families I know have Kanban walls.
How do you have a stand-up?
Okay, all right.
How do you have a stand-up meeting when your team is spread around the world?
Technology. Embrace it. Really, I won't take any more time. I know I've already cut into your time, so
Yeah,
apologies.
one more question, Pip. Did you have another question? Come on, Pip. Go on, no?
Thank you so much. You've been a great Agile team. I really appreciate it.